Right, let's get to the conversation. You are the CEO of Nurse on the Move,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes.
Why did you start Nurse on the Move?
So, Nurse on the Move is an organization where we curate authentic experiences locally and globally for individuals and healthcare workers. We do that through travel, like you mentioned, and also we curate throughout the diaspora. So, we curate authentic experiences through exposing individuals through travel. Also, wellness activities, holistic wellness activities, including things like health screenings and learning about mental health, physical health, because all these things have to do with the mind and the body, as well as educational workshops and seminars. So I created Nurse on the Move because I know the importance of being able to create to become a global change maker. When you're working 12-hour shifts, sometimes you forget your why, especially in nursing. It can be a very thankless career. So creating Nurse on the Move was really a no-brainer because I wanted to be able to transform my work and do that outside the normal hospital environment. Another reason is because when I went to Ghana in 2019 for the year of the return, I just had an aha moment and an eye-opening experience. And I had an amazing experience. I wanted to recreate that experience for other healthcare workers and for other people who want to make a difference outside of their normal environment.
Wow, thank you for saying that. The making a difference outside the normal environment, because the routine can be very boring, right? That's why some people are not excited to go to work, because if they have to see the same face and do exactly the same thing every time the same way, then sometimes it becomes boring.
Yes.
And that leads to my next question. That's that I think is one of the reasons why you engage in travel nursing, which is not something that everybody do, right? So what got your attention to start travel nursing, and how is the experience different from the normal go to
Mhm.
office and things like that nursing?
Right, right. I knew that I wanted to be a travel nurse even before I graduated college. I knew that that is something I wanted to do. So, being a travel nurse essentially is going to hospitals who have low staffing, high needs, and then you go to these hospitals from anywhere from 8 to 13 weeks. They even have contracts for 4 weeks out there. So, you go to these hospitals for a short amount of time, you help the hospital, and then you can go to a different hospital. One of the perks about travel nursing is that your housing and some of your meals are untaxed. So weekly, you don't have to pay taxes, which
Hmm.
creates a higher income for people who are travel nurses. Another great thing about travel nursing is that you're able to be off for months at a time, weeks at a time. Like being a staff nurse, sometimes you only have about 2 weeks off and PTO, so paid time off. And the flexibility of travel nursing is unmatched. So I knew that I wanted to be a travel nurse because of the flexibility and also the higher pay rate as well. So it's
Wow.
a little bit different from being a staff nurse where you have to work and you essentially you have to if you want a month off, you will have to quit your job.
Wow, interesting. So what I'm hearing is the flexibility and the higher pay rate. That's something that everybody would like to enjoy.
Right.
Yeah, and that seems to be more important and way beneficial than the stress of traveling from one state to another state, especially for people that like to travel and things like that.
Right.
And that will lead me to my next question, because you've created this experience and you wrote a book, Networking Around the World, a practical guide, which is a very good book that I already bought and I read. Why did you write this book, and how is it connected to your experience as a nurse?
That's a great question. I wrote the book because a lot of times people ask me, like, how can you just get up and move and just go so many places and meet so many people, even people who are consider themselves as not outgoing or don't talk to people, there's also a way for them to be able to network efficiently. They consider themselves someone who is not as outgoing or not talkative. So that was a reason, because a lot of times people ask me, oh, how? And also my experience with travel nursing has allowed me to expand my network and grow and meet different people from all different walks of life and have it's really important for me that I can go travel somewhere and be able to know someone wherever I go. I take pride in knowing people everywhere I go and being able to connect with family, friends, and have somewhere to stay if I randomly want to go to California for a weekend, or even if I want to go to Ghana for the weekend and I know someone everywhere I go. So I saw a need in the environment and I wanted to fill that need.
Wow. That's very kind of you. You're thinking about your environment and your community and things like that. That's why you wrote the book. And we're going to be talking a lot about the book today. One of the things that you said in the book that I really liked is this quote is from the book. Mindset is the cheat code to unlocking a world of opportunities and abundance. Then you also said networking isn't just a skill, it's a mindset, a commitment to curiosity, adaptability, and courage. And I mean, the first question, you can comment on the quote, but then the question that really comes to mind is the fact that a lot of people don't see themselves as somebody that's adaptable, curious, or courageous. And for people who don't think they have those traits, what advice would you give them?
For people who don't feel like they have the traits of, so in the book I mentioned being introverted and also being extroverted. So a lot of times maybe the individuals who would consider themselves introverted may not feel like they have those skills. So it's important to pull off of the skills, your strong skills. And I think that in the networking space, when it comes to being someone who doesn't consider themselves outgoing or curious, when you meet different people, you have to connect them with other people that you may think that they can benefit from. And that can be someone who would consider themselves an introvert. Their cheat code to networking is being a master connector and connecting people who you think can benefit from other people. And when it comes to mindset, knowing your worth, knowing your self-worth, and knowing that having this inner knowing without needing any other public satisfaction or needing someone else to validate your feelings, knowing what you bring, what purpose you bring, not only to your life, but to other people's lives. Because we all have purpose for other people that we can pull from. A lot of times other people know what they want. Here, let me rephrase this. Other people can see in you what you can't see in yourself sometimes. And when you are outgoing and when you talk to other people, sometimes you can shed light on something that they have never thought about themselves or they don't even know about themselves.
Wow, wow! Thank you for saying that. That's very important. So they can just try to get those feedback from people. But very close to that, in your book, you also mentioned the power of positive affirmation for people who now they've started looking down on themselves and they don't have they don't feel that they have that confidence that they're supposed to have, and they engage in positive affirmation. How powerful is that? And do you have any story around that personally or from another person?
Yes, I think that being positive isn't something that you just can do. It's about the people that you're around. It's about your daily routine. It's about the thoughts that go on in your mind and things like that. So I think being positive, even for me, starts from just a daily gratitude, like starting from your in the morning when you open your eyes, being thankful about just the little things, because this constant positive reinforcement can help turn your day around to positivity, which will ultimately affect the people that want to be around you. And I mentioned that as well, because when you radiate positivity, you radiate happiness, that will also come towards you. It will come towards you. So, you know, life be lifing, and it's not always easy to be positive. So that's why I say that being around positive people also matters, because that literally you can pick up bad habits and you can pick up good habits from people. So being able to, if you are having a bad day, making sure that you have that positive reinforcement from the outside in, because there are days where I don't want to be positive all the time. There are days where I'm not always happy. So making sure that I have prayer warriors around me, which is also a very positive reinforcement. Making sure that I'm not having some constant negative reinforcement from the outside, which will ultimately still make my day be bad. So being totally transparent, because it's not all days that we always want to be happy and positive. We always don't want to be around people as well. And making sure that when we recognize these feelings of maybe not as being happy, knowing that, seeing that, and also if you need to distance yourself, doing that as well. Because when it comes to networking, if we may not always be in the space to network as well. So making sure, having that transparency within yourself and knowing who you are.
Wow, thank you for saying that. That's very powerful. So let's get back to the mindset.
Okay.
Question. You also mentioned that you think mindset is not a skill, but networking is not a skill, but a mindset. So what do you have any experience that makes you feel this way?
So, we all have our innate abilities, things that we were born with, and we also have things that are learned. And I really feel like you don't just come out. Some people come out just knowing everything, but we don't just come out knowing how to network. It's a skill, or it's a mindset. It's a mindset to want to grow. And when it comes to being intentional networking, you have a goal in mind. You're trying to reach an end result. And with that being said, that's why I mentioned it's a mindset. It's a mindset that you have to have to yourself and be like, okay, I'm at point A and I want to get to point B. In order to get to point B, I have to be around certain people. I have to be in certain spaces, be in certain rooms. And that can be an adjustment of the mind to be able to be very intentional about who you network with and what you're doing. Because if you are going to these different places and not getting any phone numbers or not doing any follow-ups, then there will be no growth there. There will be no continuity there. So being able to change your mindset and tell yourself, okay, this is what I want to do. This is where I'm trying to go. So in order to do that, I have to be very intentional when it comes to dates, when it comes to planning, making sure you're planning out your month, your week, to be intentional, go to different places where you want to grow. One thing that I mentioned and I said is that if you are tech in the tech space and you're African in the tech space, go to Afrotech. It just makes sense. Being able to be in the rooms and be in the places where you want to grow and where you want to succeed, because we can't do it at home when we're sitting at home. I mean, there's nothing more powerful than an authentic in-person experience. I know that social media is a great tool for growing, for networking, but there's nothing like that face-to-face interaction. And I will say we even met face-to-face at Black Health Connect.
Yeah.
Maybe we would not have met if it was not for that organic interaction, because without knowing someone's vibe, you would say, you won't know if they're approachable, if they're not approachable. So mindset is everything, because it also, like I said, will bring opportunities towards you.
Good. Thank you. You mentioned where we connected, Black Health Connect. That's a very good way to meet. But then for people who are only having opportunity to meet on social media, and they want to make physical contact with the person, what would you recommend? What had worked for you? If you say, well, I have this contact on LinkedIn and I want to reach out to the person to be able to meet with them in person, what strategy have you used to be able to approach such individuals?
Okay. So there's a method that I use, and I think of the number 3. And when it comes to being, it also depends on the level or where I can see this person, because there also has to be some mutual benefit from you networking with someone. It can't be all because what I want to do, what I want you to do for me, but also how can you benefit that person as well? So I say 3 because it should be an email, possibly a LinkedIn message, and also a third of setting up a Zoom call or setting up a Google Meet or something like that. So if the DM doesn't work, if a message doesn't work, second, going into the email, and then thirdly, making sure that you're following up with a concrete video call or a phone call to close out the methods of communication. I think that emails isn't enough. Being able to do face-to-face interactions, even if it can't be in person, making sure it is on a Zoom call, on a video chat, or even and after that, making sure you're following up and having another meeting before you get off that meeting. So just making sure that there's an open line of communication and that you're following up with email messages. Thank you for talking to me about X, Y, and Z subject. I appreciate your time. Would love to follow up about this. So being intentional is really the name of the game, and also making sure that you're making reminders to follow up with people. So when it comes to reaching out to people, one time may not always be enough. So I always would love to tell people, if someone doesn't reach out or someone doesn't follow up, make sure you follow that up with an email, because people want to see that you're serious and that you don't want to waste their time. So we're all busy.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's true. That's true. So it's not a good thing to get angry or get really discouraged if somebody don't respond to you in the first time, because they might just be busy. They have life. They have challenges that is going all around. So when we have the opportunity to meet with these individuals and the question is going on, the engagement is going on, in your own situation with your experience, what are the examples of engaging questions that you think it's very effective when having a networking conversation?
Yes. Questions about themselves, asking questions about the other person. And when you learn more about the other person, you're able to, number one, they're able to talk to you about them, and then you can have those things turning in your brain. How can we work together? Where can we find some synergy within us or our businesses, or can there be any collaboration towards us? So some specific questions I can think of off the top of my head, of course, is if you all are at an event, what brought you here? Who invited you here? How did you learn about this event? And after that, let's just say that we're at Black Health Connect or we're at a networking event. You can follow up by, how did you get in your field? How did you get in your specific business? And a lot of times that will tell you a lot about the person. And then from there, you can draw on different questions. But keeping the other person talking, I think, is a really good networking tool, because number one, people love to talk about themselves. We are all selfish individuals. That's just how we were made, just to like to talk about ourselves. So keeping the other person talking and seeing what value you can bring to them, and seeing how you can add to the conversation by saying what you do in business, which can help them, and that will allow for them to be more interested in what you do, which will have them start asking you questions.
Yeah, good. Thank you for saying that. It's very funny how we forget that people like to talk about themselves, and you have to give them opportunity to talk.
Yes,
How good they
we
are.
always talk about ourselves. We're
Hmm.
so used to wanting to talk about us, and also I still to this day have to remember, shh, let them talk about them. Like my turn will come, and let me see how I can add value to them.
Hmm. So yeah, I mean, something I want to say in addition to that, we always forget that there's a personal piece to networking. We only think about it as, oh, yeah, professionally, I want to get a new job, but it's more than that. And we're going to be going in a lot of details about that. One of the things that you mentioned in the book is first impressions. Very important. You talk about the eye contact, firm handshake, maintaining good hygiene, and dressing appropriately for the occasion. Okay. Any instances when any of this was missing or multiple of this was missing, and how did you handle the situation?
So with that, I would it's really important to know to not judge a book by its cover as well. Even with first impressions, because when I'm meeting other people and let's say that something is off, whether their outfit doesn't match the occasion or something with their hygiene is off, I don't want to completely cancel them out into saying, "Oh, we can't work together," or "We can't do X, Y, and Z," because you never know the value that other people can bring to you, even if there is not the best first impression. So making sure that the conversation that is the main piece of making sure that there's great conversation there. And also as females, I think that we need to make sure that we're not thinking initially that people want to be romantic. It's like a romantic situation immediately. Like listen to what they're saying, and there can be some room for growth professionally, personally, and not immediately thinking the worst of people like as soon as you see them. But
Wow.
but I think that yeah, definitely when it comes to first impressions are everything, and that's when positivity comes in the forefront, because people are drawn, like I said, to energy radiating great energy, not being cut off or closed off or one word answers, being personable, being able to have dialogue back and forth, even if it's not talking about anything in particular, being able to, for people to just have an open, welcome, warming personality to even get the situation or the conversation started. Because even when it comes to connecting other people, you may not be someone that they want to work with, but they may know someone that is in your field, or they may know someone. But if that conversation or that interaction is cut off, or if it's dry, why would they want to recommend you to someone else or someone else in their network?
Yes. Wow. It's very powerful that you say that, because we tend to quickly judge people by the first impression, and it's going back to make a second impression can be very tricky and very unfulfilling or unsuccessful sometimes. But then letting people know that, of course, you always have to try to give people a second chance, because maybe they're having a bad day, maybe they forget to do something from all the list that you mentioned, not because they don't know they're supposed to do it, or
Right.
they just don't do it the way you want them to do it. Maybe the handshake is a little bit too hard for you because your hand is so soft. And for other persons, they're like, yeah, that's okay because I have the strength to do that.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I'll share a good experience that also ties to what you just said. I came from Nigeria. All of a sudden, I missed a couple of my classes for my master's program. I had to approach one of my classmates, and I called the name of the person, which was a lady, and the response that I got was, "I have a boyfriend." I was like, yeah, I don't even care for that. I missed some classes. So you saying that, well, women can sometimes just feel like, well, a guy just want to get something from them
It
by just,
resonated with you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it resonated with me because I actually had the experience. Yeah.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, it happens. And it's really cutting us off from opportunities that are totally unrelated to anything. But that first impression can mess up your potential future or business, or it could be anything that can happen. I try to be around female friends who don't have that mindset, because I have had friends who initially always thought that a male counterpart was trying to make advances, but that's not always true. And it also affects me, because it's like, you think that I'm like that, so then we're missing opportunities before they even come our way.
Yeah. And even if that's the situation, you have time to prepare for the answer that you're going to give the person, because
Right.
so there's no reason to be uncomfortable or
Right.
anything. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's one of my funny moments in America.
That's funny. But I have a boyfriend. No.
Yeah. So now that we're talking about networking, one of the things you also talked about in your book is the environment of the networking and activities. So my question is, how does the environment that the connection is happening look like for you? What kind of environment would you recommend people to go to network so that they
Yes.
don't waste their time?
Right. So it depends on your personal goals, your personal end goals. If you want to, what is your goal? Do you want to meet friends? Do you want to meet people who are nurses, who are traveling, who are, making experiences while nursing? Do you want to do philanthropy? Do you want to do outreach? Do you just want to be in a room full of doctors, nurses, Black healthcare professionals? Like, that's the first thing that you need to figure out. What room do you want to be part of? What does your future look like? And then from there, use different tools that are accessible. And I think that even one time a week, making sure that you are being intentional going into these rooms. So me, for example, I'm a nurse. I like to meet nurses, and I like to travel, and I like to be in different groups that travel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to something like Black Health Connect, where I'm going to meet different healthcare professionals who can help me professionally and personally, and I can also help them when it comes to traveling, when it comes to giving back to the environment, and it can be a mutually beneficial relationship. So that is a cheat code immediately. If you want to go to events in the tech space, go to Eventbrite. Go to your local score.org, SBA.gov, going to these free resources and finding out different tools that you can use to network, even with your profession, other people in your profession. So I think that there are some great tools. I think the Eventbrite is a great tool to use for networking. And also score.org, you can get mentors, free mentors, and you can use those free mentors to also help you in your personal life and your professional life, to help you learn how to network. And LinkedIn is an amazing tool for networking. Seeing that your connections and seeing who knows other people, and making sure that you're active on things like LinkedIn, and connecting with people who have the same views and are aligned with who you want your future self to be and who you are presently.
Good. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's very powerful. I hope our viewers are taking notes. One of the ideas you also discussed in your book is solo traveling. What are the advantages of solo traveling, and what are the precautions to take if somebody's trying to travel by themselves?
I love solo traveling. I just really enjoy solo traveling because I'm on my own time. I can do what I want to do when I wanted to do it. And also just intentionality will just be the word for the morning, because in every situation you have to know what your goal is, what your plan is. When I solo travel, I have a plan in mind. I have a goal in mind. Sometimes the goal just may be to have a good time and just to enjoy and just to relax. But sometimes it may be to create a group trip in this specific location. With Nurse on the Move, we primarily frequent African countries and we do philanthropy and also authentic experiences. Our goal is to expose individuals to travel and adventure intentionally, being able to go to these places, learn more about our history, and give back to people who look like us at the end of the day. So when I go to different countries, I want to be able to meet people where they are, put my feet on the ground, and be face to face with different businesses. I love making sure that I'm giving back to local businesses. And in order for me to do that, I have to be there. I don't necessarily may not have to be there by myself, but I want to experience it for myself before I bring a group of people to specific locations. So solo travel is just something that I started to do because it's not always easy to also find people to travel with, especially when your schedule is flexible and open. Sometimes I may have a month off, and if you wait for other people, you may not go anywhere. So I am a super big, big fan of solo travel. But when it comes to precautions, it's also really important to make sure that you're safe, of course. So looking up the country before you go, making sure that it is a safe country to travel to, use your resources. We have Instagram, we have TikTok, we have Google Maps. We can look at reviews, we can look at places to go before we go to these places. So I use all the resources that I have before going to certain places. Air tags, making sure that you have your phone located. Somebody knows where you are at all times. That's the good thing about iPhones. You know, turn your location on. You can have an air tag for your luggages, for your suitcase. And having a contact in that place is also great. Having a tour guide is good because they can ensure your safety. They can make sure that you're taken care of. What other precautions can I think of? Especially the medical precautions, making sure that if you need malaria pills, making sure that you're bringing that with you. If you need to make sure that you have your yellow fever shot, making sure you have your Imodium. Definitely everywhere you're gonna need Imodium more than likely. And just making sure, like, from you have your vitamins. So from the medical standpoint, from the travel standpoint, even when it comes to taking taxis and Ubers and things like that, I know in Ghana specifically, we tell our travelers to make sure that you are taking Ubers or Bolts, because if you take a taxi, there's no telling where you are. But at least with Uber, it's in the app. Like, we can see, you can see where you're going. You can see the driver's name, the license plate, and all those things. So just making sure that you're making informed decisions and not just going off of a whim without doing any prior research.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Hopefully people that traveled alone are taking notes so that they can be safe and come. It's very important to enjoy yourself, but it's way more important to come back safely in one piece.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Even some people like to date outside of the country and things like that, and that's great too, but making sure that someone knows where you are at all times.
Good. Thank you for sharing that. The alternative to that is traveling in a group. And in the case of networking, I've seen that happen a lot, whereby people tend to want to move in a group. You meet somebody and you vibe with them and you want to stay in conversation with them. But then the idea is to go and network and meet people. Right. So in your own situation, when you've traveled and find yourself in a group that you really enjoyed and you want to keep moving that group, but which technique do you use to disengage yourself from that small group such that you can interact with other people without making them feel bad or sending the wrong signal? Because this seems like a challenge for some people.
To being able to, if they're traveling in a group and they want to break off from the group and go.
Yes, and meet other people. Yeah.
So most times, I'm not going to say most times, but that may be the same idea of other people that are in the group. I think that being open and honest is the best policy. Communication, honesty is the best policy. So letting those people know, hey, these are my intentions while I'm here. This is my goal while I'm on this trip. I really want to be able to be with you all, network with you all, but I also want to create more experiences with other people as well. And I'm sure that they probably do, because when you're honest and open, 9 times out of 10, someone else feels the same way, and they might be like, you know what, I want to do that too. So it's fine, no hard feelings, because we'll have more opportunities to be together and to be in the group. So honesty, being open, making sure communication is open, not being afraid. And I think that's where mindset comes back into play, making sure that you're creating all the moments, all the memories that you want to create.
Wow, interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Another concept that you discussed in the book, which is not something different or new, but then the way it's been explained was really nice. Quality over quantity. It's easier said than done, but then when you're in a conference whereby you're excited to meet so many people and you're moving around and sometimes you forget yourself, to actually just sit there and say, oh, which are the people, what are the group of people that I need to meet that are going to be the most impactful for my career growth? So with you, how have you been able to make sure that you stay grounded with the quality over quantity when you're in a conference, especially a very big conference?
Yes. So small, short conversations versus passing out your card. Here, take my QR code. Here, take my card. Because when you pass out your cards and you don't have any verbiage or no talking, it just creates, people will throw your card out because they still don't know who you are. So I pride myself in just having short conversations with people instead of just taking giving my QR code out, making sure that even in a big conference, I'm making sure if there's a speaker or something that is speaking and I want to make sure I talk to them, going up to them. But more than likely, if you're in a big conference, a lot of people there are in your niche, they're in your field, or you want to meet them. So just having short quality conversations is better than just passing out your QR code to everybody.
Wow, interesting.
Yes.
Now I'm curious.
For that.
Now I'm curious. How many times have you thrown people's card out?
I have a list of cards. I have like so many cards, and sometimes I forget not even where I met them, but like what they do, or because of the lack of conversation. When you leave an impression on people, they will remember you. You don't need even your face on a card, like your picture on there, because of these short quality conversations are way more important than just handing out cards. I keep everybody's card, but I'm like, it's so many. I have so many cards, so we all have to set out, be different, and the difference is those short quality conversations. It can go a long way. Even like I said, asking about the other person, asking about them, and seeing how you can be beneficial for them. Having a attitude of service, and not of taking.
Wow, the attitude of serving, not of taking, and that will lead me to my next question, which connects to that. What are the ways you've been intentional about staying on people's mind even after you meet them? How do you stay engaged after you meet somebody in a conference?
Staying engaged is probably the maintaining connections part is probably one of the hardest parts when it comes to building, maintaining connections, and making sure you're following up. So follow-ups and reminders help me because I forget. I'm forgetful. I can forget everything. If it's not in my phone, if I'm not reminding myself, making calendar reminders, being present on social media as well. Other people want to see you too, and being present on social media, whether you're posting, whether you're liking pictures, commenting on other people's content, can keep you fresh on their mind, and just random messages. The good thing about too, I'll say this new feature on iPhones, you can schedule send messages. You can also schedule send emails. So you can have some drafted emails ready to send out 2 months from now, 3 months from now, making sure that you're following up even through text message. Hey, I was thinking about you. I hope all is well. Let's have a follow-up conversation just to catch up. Let's have a catch-up conversation. And people want to help you. People want to give value to you as well. And don't have this attitude of, oh, like I don't want to be a burden, or I don't want to be asking for things, because 9 out of 10, when you meet people in different networking situations, they want to be of value to you as much as you want to be of value to them. So also that will increase their worth when it comes to making sure that their name is being brought up in rooms that they're not in. We all want our names to be brought up even when we're not presently there, because of us being present in people's lives when it comes to following up, maintaining this connection. So those are just a couple of things I use: schedule sending messages, making sure I'm present on social media, commenting on other people's stuff, making sure that I'm showing up for myself.
Wow. Interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. One of the concepts you also discussed in your group, you talked about the different relationships, friends, associates, and business partners. And it was interesting the way you were able to say, wow, for friends, you expect support from them. For associates, you expect shared experience and interest. For business partners, you're thinking about professional opportunities and collaborations. All right, so that's very clear. I think it makes a lot of sense to me, that category. But then, have you ever encountered a situation, either from you or from another person, whereby, for example, friends that you're supposed to expect support from, you want to try to have collaboration with them, which is supposed to be the work of a business partner? All right, so that means, do you experience that cross purpose between one group to another group? And were you surprised when that happened, or is something that never happened to you?
So I will say that all relationships, they need to be nurtured, whether it's friends, network, or associates or business partners, even family. Like you have to nurture those relationships for them to grow. It's like a flower. You have to water them for them to grow. One story that I can say is when I just first started Nurse and Move, I was trying to do different things. So I was selling t-shirts. That's how most businesses start, selling t-shirts or selling things. And I realized like, oh, like my friends aren't buying my t-shirts. They're nurses, but they're not buying my t-shirts. And that was my first lesson in your friends aren't always your business, aren't your target audience. A lot of times strangers are the main ones that will support you before your friends will support you. People that don't know you will support you. And I was like mad at them. I was like, dang, y'all not gonna support my business. Y'all not gonna get this, from me. I'm selling my shirts, and it's like, it's okay because maybe they don't want the shirt, number one, and maybe they're showing up in other places of your life, and it doesn't have to be, they don't have to buy anything. Maybe they can repost. Other things are also meaningful. So that was a really like big lesson for me when it comes to friendships and business. And, you know, it's okay. Like just because they don't buy something, that doesn't mean that they don't support you.
Yes. It's just that they're not seeing what you're saying. So the kind of friends that won't buy the t-shirt wouldn't mind taking you to go and drink alcohol because they're like, that's my friend. Let's go chill. I'll pay alcohol. But at the same money, they're not going to use it to buy the t-shirts. It's so something I don't understand really.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I just had to, I just had to just kind of say, okay, you know, I just had to kind of like accept it and put people where they are, you know, and it's nothing to be like upset at, but I was in the beginning, I was mad. I was like, what? You're my friend. You don't want to support my business?
Yes, yes. Yeah, there are family and friends like that. They just say, oh, you're doing good. Let us know when you make it. We're going to come spend the money together.
Right.
So I also like the way you use the Venn diagram from mathematics to explain that. I happen to have a very good mathematics teacher eventually in my later high school days. So I really love the way you use the Venn diagram to explain that.
Thank you.
That was really good. So now we're still having the conversation on networking. I hope all our guests are enjoying the conversation. So one of the things that I also want us to talk about is the authentic part of the conversation.
Yes.
How much of your authentic self are you able to give when you're meeting a new contact? And when do you get comfortable to talk about small talks?
So you said how much of my authentic self am I giving?
Yes, at the beginning of meeting somebody for the first time.
Okay. So there's I give my full authentic self, but also I want my personality to shine through, but I also want to make sure that the subject matter is supposed to be discussed and we're not being it's not I'm not my authenticity or the fun is not overshining the intention. So making sure that my personality is also shining through when it comes to being authentic to myself and genuine, but also making sure that the conversation is on is on point with the subject matter at hand or what the goal of the conversation is. So
Wow.
when it comes to being authentic, your authentic self should always shine through because you know sometimes you see people and on social media they're one way and then you meet them and you're like you're not really that nice, you're not really that you're not the same person, and I never want to be that person. I always want to make sure that my personality, who I am on social media, is showing in person organically. I am that person, which is being positive, being happy, and also recognizing when your cup is near empty, when your social battery is low, knowing that as well. And when you know that you can't show up as your authentic self, then making sure that you're not in these spaces where someone can get the idea that you're not approachable or you're not nice. So showing up as my authentic self is always always important, but also making sure that me authentically is talking a lot and making sure that the other person has the ability to talk. So making sure you are taking a step back and making sure that okay, I know that I love to talk and I may like to talk about myself a lot and I know that about myself. So making sure that when I'm in these networking situations, I'm recognizing who I am and taking a step back if I need to. They'll see my personality, but I also want them to talk about themselves so I can see if I have value to them.
Wow, wow, interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Adding value, exchange of values is very important. So one of the concepts you also mentioned in the book that relates to that is when you're having such conversation, you have to know when to pause. You talk about the concept of small talks and boundaries. All right. So Any story around small talk or boundaries, and when in what situations have you found yourself? In which case you're like, oh, maybe the action or request of this person is not within my boundary anymore, and how were you able to approach that?
So that hasn't happened much for me, but I thought it was very important to talk about boundaries because we don't always feel comfortable talking about our personal life and professional situations and making sure that there is a difference, which is why I pointed out friends, associates, and business partners, because the conversations that we'll have with our business partner will not align maybe with our friends. There are different tiers. So making sure that when we say boundaries, being assertive or but also being professional or not being rude, but making sure that you're getting your point across if someone has crossed that boundary and knowing your boundaries beforehand. Because having that conversation with yourself, you're able to be adequately prepared for if that conversation happens or if something happens and someone crosses your boundary and you don't know what to do. So thinking about it before it happens is important so that you know how to respond to that. But that has never happened to me personally. But we are in a world where we are learning more about how important it is for mental health and making sure that even family, we should have boundaries with everybody to protect ourselves. Boundaries are to protect our mind, our mental health, and our physical health as well, quite frankly.
Wow, thank you so much for saying that. Thank you for explaining that very well. One of the things I still want to talk about is you mentioned reverse complaint in the book, reverse complaint. And instead of complaining, we should use reverse complaints. So where's the idea coming from, and any experience you have around using reverse complaints instead of complaining? Because complaining is what we see every time. It's just easy to see something and complain, right? But then to take a step back and say, well, I'm going to use reverse complaints instead of complaining. Any where did that idea came from, and any experience you have with that?
Yeah, it was one of the work for the workbook portion.
Yes.
It's retraining your mind. So I know that I was tired of hearing myself complain, and that's kind of where the idea comes from because that's our first thing. That's our first thing to do. As soon as something happens that is not what we want to happen or something that's off of our day or something, we complain immediately. I think that me doing the reverse complaining, it kind of started from my travels to Africa because nobody complains there. No one's complaining about anything, even if they are unhappy or other people may look at them as poor, but they're so rich. A lot of people there are so rich in spirit. So I listened to myself complaining about it being hot in Africa, and I'm like, it's Africa. I'm in Ghana. What do I expect? I'm in Nigeria. It's hot there. And there's nothing to complain about because we have life. Like I have life. I'm warm. I have food in my stomach. Like there's literally nothing to complain about. And when I went to when I from my frequent travels to Africa, I, I'm down there complaining and I had to do a self shift and some self reflection and realize I have nothing to complain about. I literally have nothing to complain about. And I sound selfish complaining when there's so many other people there who could be complaining, but they're not. So
Wow.
even at work, I would be working and complaining, and it's like I'm grateful to even have a job. There's people who don't make the money I make. They're living paycheck to paycheck. So just having the inner thought like I need to stop complaining. That really was my aha moment of doing the reverse complaint thing, and it will change your neural pathways to just stay in a positive mindset when you do the reverse complaint exercise. And also slows you down because we just have thousands and millions of thoughts per day. And a lot of the time, half of those thoughts are negative, or there are complaining thoughts. So being able to just really to slow down and listen to your own inner thoughts, it'll allow you to complain less, especially when you notice it more, when you notice yourself complaining more.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, we're going to be wrapping up very soon. We still have some questions to to finish. One of the quotes that I love from your book: understand that God can hide your value from those who aren't meant to be part of your life or your future. That's very powerful. Another one that I like from the quote: trust that things and people will come to you when you are in the right spaces and around the right people. So it seems that there's a God factor here, and
Absolutely.
being in the right place and being around the right people. Any story around this with your personal experience?
Yes, I love that quote. Like, I love that quote. God will hide your value from people who are not meant to be part of your future journey. I did an event with with someone, a nursing event, and as we were working, I realized that we did not mesh well at all. Our I feel like I had to walk on eggshells to kind of talk to this person, and when it came to business, there were too many emotions involved on her end. And it's like, this is business. Like, this is not supposed to be personal. If I say something, it's about business. I'm not trying to come at you, for example. So like also for situations or people who do not serve you, taking a step back. Even if someone may have followers or social media followers, or if it does not fit you or if it does not align, making sure that you're seeing that and taking a step back. So sometimes like when it comes to hiding your value, maybe that person necessarily didn't, or I'm trying to word this so that it makes sense
Mhm,
for our audience.
mhm.
So for example, like someone outside looking in may see that, oh, like why would she take a step away from this person who has like followers and things like that? But when you know your worth, and if you know that something doesn't serve you, you can take a step away from the situation because you know that opportunities are endless, are abundant, and there's abundance of opportunities. There's abundance of people who will see your value. So everyone is not meant to be part of your story. Everyone is not meant to be part of your future. And situations just kind of unfold when you're walking in your purpose and when you're walking in your path. Things and people will just come to you without you having to force it or anything. So that situation with that the business relationship, it got dissolved, but I was able to learn a lot about myself and about my self-worth, because my worth does not lie in the approval of others, and my worth lies in God, and also in what I believe about myself.
Wow, wow. God and what you believe in yourself, very important, because those probably don't always align with what people want from you. Some people want to put you in a box and want you to do certain things their way, and that's not always right. One of the quotes I also have from your book: I was torn between the excitement of exploration and the sorrow of leaving behind everything I know. I can connect with that because I was from Nigeria. I lived almost 30 years in Nigeria before I came to America. So that's like saying my own personal story. But the question that I have for you around that is, now you had the opportunity to move to Columbus, Ohio, and you were in between that. You were at the Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. You
Yes.
moved to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. What was the experience in making that move from the two locations?
Yeah,
And
so I
what was
always
the
like
culture?
to say that my move from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia was my first. It wasn't called networking, but I was 10 years old. So I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. And then at 10 years old, my mother told me that we were moving to Ethiopia. And I had to leave everything I knew. So I had to leave my school, I had to leave my siblings, and my mother got an opportunity to work at the Civil Service College in Ethiopia as a American teacher that came to Ethiopia. So with that, I was immediately integrated into the culture. I went to school there. I was taking the bus. This was my first opportunity, or my first, opportunity to go out of the country and live with the people and learn the language, and my first experience of cultural immersion, true cultural immersion, which really changed the trajectory of my life, because now it's a full circle moment with me bringing people to Africa to experience and to learn about history and culture. So that really was a eye opener, especially now as an adult. I can see how it definitely shaped my life, and it shaped my ideas and how I think about things differently than a lot of my other peers. And also it also was able to allow me to solo travel like that, and want me to become a travel nurse because of my early exposure to travel at an early age, and being able to connect with people from a different culture at an early age. Before, it was cool to be in Africa or be an
Yeah.
African, because it wasn't always cool to, like, be African or be in Africa. So that really, like, opened my eyes, and also allowed me to connect with Ethiopians when I came back. Like, I knew Amharic, and I was able to, like, be also a Black American person, and also be able to connect with the diaspora on a personal level. So when I went back, I didn't go back to Africa since when I was adult in 2019. I went back and I just smelled this just outside. It just was so nostalgic to just smell just the air, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So that's a cool thing to go to Africa, because everybody talks about, wow, the motherland, the motherland. I want to go to the motherland, because it's like, oh yeah, that's where we all came from. That's what people say now, which is very interesting. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate your experiences there. So now we are coming to the end. What is the last thing you want to say to our viewers as we wrap up the session? Any words of encouragement? What are your services that you offer so that people can stay engaged with you?
Yes. So thank you all for listening. We're this December, we will be in Ghana, and we're going to be participating in some outreach and some giving back to the community. So if you are in Ghana from December 27th to the 3rd, I would love for you all to connect with us. You can connect with us at Nurses on the Move, and that is on Instagram, it's on TikTok, and it is also on Facebook as well. We also are going to Kenya next year in June. So this trip is open to all individuals. If you are in the DMV area, in the Charlotte area, or in Accra, Ghana, we would love for you to come with us to give back to the community, because we do things locally and globally as well. And on your networking journey start today on your networking journey. There is an innumerable amount of opportunities waiting for you. And also just believe in the power of abundance. There's nothing that cannot be done. There's no situation that you cannot have, and there's no person that you cannot meet. So go ahead and go outside and network.
Good, good. Thank you so much. So if you really want to visit Ghana and Kenya, now
Africa, Kenya, Zanzibar, South Africa, hit us up. Hit us
yeah,
up.
I'm a little bit upset that you didn't mention Nigeria though.
I've been to Nigeria. And I'm waiting for it to be a little bit more tourist friendly.
Okay.
And yes, that's all
Good.
I'm waiting for. But we also curate trips for other people. So we don't always go on trips, but if you're interested, you and your family members, your professional organizations, if you're part of a college faculty or you have students who want to travel, we can curate that trip for you and make sure it is tailored specifically to your needs.
Good, good. Thank you so much. It's a very exciting time. Thank you, Alisha Diggs. I know that our guests really enjoyed all your insights and your experiences. I enjoyed that, and I've learned so much.
Yes.
I so I recommend the book if you have not read it. Alisha Diggs has a book. I'm going to share the link, and if you guys want to just try it, read it, and let me know what you think. And also listen to this conversation again because I think it was very powerful, in my own opinion. Thank you so much, Alisha Diggs.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Bye.